Can't serve two masters. Can't serve two masters. We got some problems in general practice. I think that's become increasingly clear over the last couple of weeks, last couple of months. General practice is making the headlines. People can't get in to see a GP, or they certainly can't get in to see a bulk billing GP. And for many years, general practice has been this concept of free, but it's breaking down. Essentially, the government has refused to pay the patients enough money to pass to the doctors. And that idea that we are paid by the government, it's never actually really been true. Some doctors were willing to say, you know what, I'll take the money that the government gives you as the patient and accept that as payment. But it's always been an indirect relationship. The patients themselves have always been paying the doctors, but they got money from the government. But this is breaking down. Why? Well, that money from the government that we receive from patients, it's just not enough. Unfortunately, in a inflationary environment, an expensive environment, and an increasing complex and difficult environment, the amount of money that comes from the government for a standard consultation, well, it just doesn't cut it. You can't really run the practice, pay the nurses, pay the rent, pay the software, pay the doctor, and actually still have something that works. And so we've seen a number of bulk billing chains of practices go under. And they're proof that it's just not enough. But the questions are, well, what do we do about this? What do we do about this? And I've been on a interesting business journey. You see that in graduate medicine, when it first began, it was about helping doctors pass the exams. This was a relatively new concept back in 2014, 2015. It's no longer a new concept. There's obviously many providers of pass the exams. And it seems to me that there's much bigger problems that we're facing in general practice, and that's what I'm looking at. And I got confronted by a mentor, and he was like, you know what, you've got these two main things that you could do. You could teach doctors how to charge a whole lot more for their services. And there's certainly very similar situations in the business world where this has happened, particularly around gyms, but it's applicable to many other areas, even online marketing, where the people like, well, I traditionally would pay $1,000 a month. Instead, I'm going to pay $5,000 and I'm get a whole lot better service. And this actually is good for the business. But these ideas around charging more, they're very alien, they're very difficult. So that's one section. And the second was like, well, why are we struggling so badly? And my take on it is that the requirements for complex medical management of patients actually requires different tools, different skill sets than we've got. And we've looked at this over the last couple of weeks. And these two ideas, do I chase after how to get doctors to charge a whole lot more, or do I chase how to run better systems to manage people better? Well, I got to this realization today that they're related. And the problem with charging a whole lot more money is that, yeah, while the marketing might be there and the sales might be there, if the fulfillment, if the back end is exactly the same as what we've got right now, well, why would anybody pay a whole lot more unless that was the only way to see a doctor? And this may happen, that as AI comes into medicine, which it will over the next 2 to 3 years, almost certainly we will see AI in medicine. And those people that can't see any doctors will have their medical management managed by AI. That the value of a real doctor, an actual person who's a doctor, will go up. But if all that doctor is providing is what we've got right now, where's the value? Where is the difference? And this is why, to me, I was like, you know what? I need to think about this. I need to spend some time, but more and more I'm leaning towards, okay, we need to work out a new way of doing the medicine a new way of providing the service that takes into account the chronic complex nature of most people's presentations these days. You see, people are presenting with multiple medical problems that don't get better. They get managed. They're never gone. It's not like an appendicitis. It's not like a otitis media. They've got chronic renal failure. They've got chronic heart failure. They've got diabetes. They've had a stroke. These conditions all require ongoing management, and yet the skill sets or even the software itself that we've got is relatively inadequate for this job. So, to take this on though, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to actually work out, okay, why are these patients so hard to manage? What needs to be done? What different things do we need to provide? So we'll see how it plays out. Selling the new thing is actually relatively easy. There are many, many, many people that can help us as doctors sell a solution that works. But getting that new solution, we haven't got it at the moment. It's not like best practice or medical director are coming out with any new tools. Genie's not coming out with any new tools. Even defining the problem itself, this is difficult. And how to manage them, okay. So I've got some ideas, and I have seen the analogy that these chronic complex medical problems are much more like project management than they are like an acute medical problem. And they didn't teach me any project management skills at medical school or even in general practice training. I don't know whether you got them. Perhaps you did. Perhaps you took that module on project management. But it certainly seems to me that building a house or building a highway is actually a whole lot similar, because things have to be done at certain points. There's a schedule, there's things that have to happen, and when they get done, they need to be marked off and documented. This is all project management, and yet, as I said, our tools that we have in general practice are relatively inadequate for this. Perhaps we need to adapt the existing tools, taking a Trello or a Asana or a Monday, these project management tools that are in the world, and adapting them. And this might actually lead to far better outcomes, but making sure that it's documented, making sure that it's a snapshot in time to say, hey, this is where that patient was and this is what needed to be done. And then 6 months later or 3 months later, when that care plan comes around and saying, well, this is what got done and this is what still needs to be done, and these are their measurements, and here's their waist, and here's their blood pressure, tracking all of these things. This is a very interesting problem. And so I'm leaning towards this rather than how do we sell general practice at a higher price. Yeah, sure, it might provide more money for us, but I don't think that's the real problem. The real problem is, how do we deal with this new style of medicine that we are clearly all faced with, and yet we are having inadequate tools. I don't know how this is going to play out with. I actually do have a MVP in with the New South Wales government. So it's going to be interesting to see whether they'll take that and say, you know what, this is actually worthwhile, because it doesn't seem to me that they've got a lot of other solutions other than throwing people at the problem. But if the problem is complexity, and the problem is the tools that we have, and the fact that the health record doesn't work and we can't tell what people are actually on in the real time, these are significant challenges. So we'll see how it plays out. I just wanted to share with you because I've got over the next week to work on this. Hey, do I focus on how to sell general practice at a higher price point? Yeah, it can be done. You can go check it out if you want. It's called $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. It lays out exactly how to sell the same thing at 10 times the price. But I don't think that's the real problem, because if you're going to pitch something at a whole higher price, it better be something different than right now. Unless as I said, there's literally no doctors and the only price point that you can get in at is a high price point. But hopefully that's not where we're heading. Hopefully we can actually work out how to do this, how to work out how to manage these people in a whole better way than we are right now. All right, that's all I got for you today. Hope you are having an awesome day and go hang out with my kids. I'll see you next time as we continue this journey into trying to work out what the problems are and how to fix them in general practice. See you then.